William Samoei Ruto will go to bed a very disappointed man. And I now understand why William Ruto opposed this new constitution, even though he's the first person to benefit dearly from this constitution. When people are discussing the proposals around the 2010 constitution, Ruto opposed it apparently to test the waters, how many people he could convince and persuade, and he got it. But when the new constitution was unveiled and promulgated, he was the first deputy president under the new constitution. He could be the first person to impeach his deputy under the new constitution. But the reason I'm saying that William Ruto, never wanted this, and it has come out, and the reason I'm saying he's going to bed a very disappointed man is William Ruto had expected that today the swearing in of Kithure Kindiki would have taken place. This is after the conservatory orders that were given against the swearing in were to expire today. And so William Ruto had expected that the three-judge bench that was appointed and reconstituted by the Deputy Chief Justice would sit down and they would lift those conservatory orders, and this would allow Kithure Kindiki to be sworn in. But the three-judge bench has declined to lift that ban. And I want us to read a little so that we discuss this, because William Ruto is really a very disappointed man. Kindiki to wait longer for swearing in, and it goes to say, Professor Kithure Kindiki is set to wait longer for his much anticipated swearing in as the three-judge bench hearing the Gachagua impeachment case pushed the hearing of the ongoing court case to next week. You can imagine, next week. This is after the three High Court judge bench comprised of Justice Eric Ogolla, Anthony Mrima, and Frida Mugambi pushed the hearing for the lifting of the conservatory orders stopping the swearing in to Tuesday, October 29th. Justice Ogolla, while reading the judgment, declined to set aside the conservatory orders that stopped the swearing in of nominated Deputy President Kithure Kindiki. The judge instead announced that the court would decide whether to lift the orders on the aforementioned date. And this is what he said, that given the pending application of the conservatory orders and those seeking to set aside the conservatory orders, we hereby direct as follows. The applications shall be deemed as responses for the conservatory orders. The said applications are thereby fixed for hearing on October 29th this month. Now, from that ruling, two things. One, you will realize that William Ruto cannot believe that with all his authority, he had he managed to compromise the National Assembly and the Senate, and they rushed into impeaching Rigathi Gachagua. Now, he cannot imagine that when he was under the Moi regime, Moi could hire and fire any vice president. But now, William Ruto cannot imagine that some people sitting somewhere can bring his decision to a very sudden halt using the constitution. And I think this is the reason why he believes this constitution was never to be, promulgated. That's why, and I believe that's one of the reasons. If it were in the old days, this would be a done deal. Number two, William Ruto was prepared that Kithure Kindiki would be sworn in because this was a supremacy battle. He wanted to show Rigathi Gachagua that I am the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces. That is why he rushed this deal. As it was pending in court, he appointed Kithure Kindiki, and he was later rushed to be certified by Parliament, the National Assembly. And then he has withdrawn Gashagua's security. Many of Gashagua's employees have been sent on compulsory leave. The very few who wanted to access the DP offices were turned home indefinitely. This tells you that even though the High Court still gives Rigathi powers to be the deputy president, He's a deputy president who cannot access even his office because of the powers that William Ruto have. And this is why I'm telling you that it is going to be a disappointment to William Ruto. And perhaps those who promulgated this constitution can now enjoy that we can see a court standing before a president. They are telling him, you cannot do this until we listen and hear. This being the very first case where people are trying to impeach their deputy president, and considering that it has got a lot of interest and stakes are high, I think it needs time so that it be listened to, even though many are telling me that this is a done deal. Even if it is a done deal, I like the fact that William Ruto cannot have his cake and eat it at the same time. The rush with which he was moving has been halted. So even if it is a done deal, even if they have a deal that Kithure will be sworn in and they will throw away regard this case, but the time he was really rushing, that speed has been halted. And that's why I'm telling you that the new constitution is one that we really need to embrace. Number two, people really need to fight hard to avoid or to block any attempt of mutilating our constitution. We are really enjoying a bit of freedom, and the democratic space has been expanded. I'm told that people had to fight, some lost their life, they paid with their lives as we fought until this time, especially during the second liberation when people were fighting the Nyayo regime. And so we really need to guard. If you get stories, those who are of my age who never witnessed what used to happen, if you get those stories, then you have got this idea that you feel pushed that we need to protect our constitution against mutilation. Because in the past it used to be, you wake up, you can hire a deputy president, a vice president. If you disagree tomorrow, that makes a deputy president a puppet who will do whatever you want. We need an office that can discuss and sometimes says, I don't think this is possible, even though the deputy is the official principal assistant of the president. He's not there as a puppet. He's sometimes supposed to challenge the president politely. All we should also avoid is this idea of coming out in the public to bash the president. It comes because when you have a president who is a dictator, who does not listen to you in the cabinet, who does not listen to your proposals, you take it back to the people, because by the end of the day, people look at you as a presidency. So when you go to the president and tell him, Mr. President, I think this does not resonate well with the people, and he dismisses you, then you can go to the people and just tell them, I'm doing this because I want you to know that I'm not part and parcel of this. I think that is the reason why sometimes Rigathi says, I did this, even though we know that there are proposals that he supported. So, ladies and gentlemen, this swearing in has been pushed to next week. The broad-based government is looking at it because already we've got some information that ODM is pushing for the appointment of Junet Mohammed to be the new or the next interior cabinet. And there are a lot of stake. Lobbying is going on. Mount Kenya feels like this was our position. Please give it to someone from Mount Kenya. ODM on the other side says, we are the ones that helped to stabilize this government when Ruto was going home, and therefore it doesn't matter whose position it was, because even if it was your position, ODM feels that you alone could not help the president to stabilize and to protect himself from the attacks from some quarters. So there's a lot of controversy going on. This is going to widen the rivalry between some quarters. It is going to open up friendship in other quarters. But at the end of the day, we are Kenyans and we are waiting with bated breath to understand whether there is going to be justice. Justice to Kenyans, justice to Rigathi Gachagua, justice to Kithure Kindiki, justice to all. The judges are under pressure already. They have been accused of being friends to some. You know what happened there? And so it is going to be difficult for them. They refused, they declined to recuse themselves from this case. And it's really difficult even to understand, because you ask yourself, Like Hamina was saying that if these people don't want you to hear this case, then go. And then I was wondering, what if the other judges that come, the Ruto side also say, we don't want you. So do you go and then another judgment comes and the other side says, we don't like. I think there should be a proper way of looking at it. If it's conflict of interest, then it's supposed to be looked at keenly, but not just flimsy accusations here and there. I don't have any say there, but it was really confusing to see the push and pull that has been there. At first, it started with, you know, the judge was not properly appointed because deputy chief justice has got no authority. Then it was later judged that she's got full authority. And I was just wondering, what is the need of having a deputy chief justice who cannot perform those roles in her absence, or in the event that the chief justice decides to delegate those duties to the deputy chief justice? I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but I was thinking a deputy chief justice should be given, authority to do that. You remember, we really need to look at our constitution. In the presidential case in 2022, there was this discussion of, can a deputy chairman of the IEBC, Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, can she or he perform certain duties, or this authority is only vested on the chairman? We really need to look at these powers. What about the deputy president and the president? What about a governor and a deputy governor? There seems to be the law, there's a lacuna, in between. It is not explained properly. And as we review our constitution, we really, really need to look into such powers. Kithure Kindiki will wait further. The broad-based government will wait further. William Ruto, as disappointed, as sad as it is, against his chagrin, he will have to obey the constitution. That is the better side of the constitution. You have to wait until the case is determined. If anything, it was the Supreme Court that placed Ruto where he is, and people had to wait. So he has to wait. He has to wait. It is a double-edged sword. It is his time to wait. If anything, he swore to protect and defend our constitution.